when the saints go marching in.
Vox Fidei brings you into the inner life of the Word made flesh. Father Chris guides us in the lives of the saints in Saintly series.
Welcome to Saintly series. Today, 3rd of July, we celebrate the feast of St. Thomas the Apostle. The name Thomas means the twin. St. Thomas was a fisherman from Galilee, and he became an apostle of Christ Jesus because Jesus chose him. St. Thomas was absent when Jesus first appeared on Easter Sunday morning to his disciples after the resurrection. When he was informed that the Lord had appeared to them, he insisted that he needed proof before believing. And this is why he's called the Doubting Thomas. John 20:25. And later, when Jesus reappeared to the apostles, he specifically requested that Thomas comes and touches his wounds. Thomas became the first person to recognize the divinity of Jesus in that touch. And then he made a declaration of his faith, an act of faith, as he proclaimed, "My Lord and my God." John chapter 20, verse 28. And this, his exclamation, his act of faith, has been included in the Eucharistic prayer of the liturgy. With this, as the Mass is celebrated every day, St. Thomas can never be forgotten. In Luke's Gospel, chapter 11, verse 16, St. Thomas had expressed his great love for Jesus when he demonstrated his willingness and readiness to follow Jesus to Lazarus, who was ill, despite the fact that the other disciples were reluctant for fear of being arrested and eventually, possibly, brought to death by the authorities. Thomas's words to the disciples were, "Let us also go and die with him." Thomas seemed to have said this with a certain determination to accept whatever was waiting for them in Jerusalem. He seemed to know that Jesus was going to be met with resistance and persecution and eventual death. And he also appeared to be ready to face that persecution and death with Jesus. At the Last Supper, Thomas's quest to know the way to heaven made Jesus reveal that he is the way, the truth, and the life. John chapter 14, verse 6. Not much is known of him in the New Testament, but tradition has it that after Pentecost, as the apostles of Christ Jesus scattered to different parts of the earth to proclaim the message, to proclaim the good news, Thomas was sent to evangelize the Parthians, the Medes, and the Persians. He eventually extended his missionary activity to India, carrying the faith to Malabar, the Malabar coast. This area still has a large indigenous population of Indian Christians who call themselves Christians of St. Thomas or Malabar Christians, and are divided into Eastern Catholics, Eastern Orthodox, or Oriental Orthodox. St. Thomas was martyred on the 21st of December, 72 AD. A miraculous cross is venerated in Mylapore in honor of St. Thomas. A part of his relics were taken to Edessa in Turkey, while the rest were left in the Basilica of St. Thaume in Chennai, India. The relics in Edessa were later transferred to Italy and kept in the Basilica of St. Thomas the Apostle in Ottogno, Italy. Thomas's life is an indication that despite our weaknesses and our many failures to believe in God, He can still transform our hearts and use to the glory of His name. St. Thomas was declared the Apostle of India by Pope Paul VI in 1972. He is the patron of architects, of carpenters, of surveyors, of construction workers. The color of the day is red because he was martyred for the faith. What we offer the saints is veneration. God bless you. I'm Father Chris, Vox Fidei.
Oh, when the saints go marching in. Oh, when the saints go marching in.
Vox Fidei, God is in charge.